barriers, all nations, all ages. It's a universal experience, truly. One of the things that I was surprised to discover is that children are very open and to out-of-body experiences. Unfortunately, parents have a tendency often to kind of slough the experience off, and the old line, it was just a dream. Everything is just a dream that happens during sleep. And, of course, that kind of puts a damper on people's opening to other types of experiences at a young age. But one of the things I did discover is that between the ages of 4 and 12, before puberty, children have many out-of-body experiences. I have received over 500 from all different parts of the world. Very clearly that were o.b.es.
Now, what are the different types of o.b.es that a child would have compared to, let's say, someone of your age, my age?
Well, that's what's one of the things I found so fascinating. I'll give you a personal example. I have twin boys.
Okay.
And my sons were, when they were young, now they're in their 20s, and but when they were young, they would tell me on numerous occasions that they had played catch and ball or games with my wife's father, who had passed away. And it was quite a touching. They were very detailed stories about how, they just called him Pop. They were playing ball with Pop, or they were playing hide and seek with Pop. And stories like this, my sons told me for, probably 4 to 5 years. And the same applies to my mother when my mother passed. The same kind of stories come up. And I was not even encouraging this. This is like, they would come up to me and start talking about this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I was open to it. I didn't, boo-hoo it. I didn't say, oh, come on, that's just a dream. I let them talk about it. I said, what else happened? I think parents now are waking up to this more and more. I get a lot of letters, responses from parents that are saying their children are telling them all kinds of fascinating stories. For instance, a common one is that the child may say they were flying over the house or walking through the wall or stuff like that, or just floating in their room. So all of these things, maybe we should start taking a little more seriously than we have in the past, as parents especially.
It seems that there's a lot of similarities between an out-of-body experience and a near-death experience.
Well, there are. The o.b.e. is much more common. A near-death experience, just to clarify to your listening audience, is when your biological body is dead for generally a brief period of time, a minute, maybe 2 minutes at most, and then your consciousness leaves the body. And this is a big topic. There's certain things that occur that is reported by Raymond Moody, yes, Morris, and other noted physicians. Now, an o.b.e. is different. There is no, of course, death of the physical body. So most people do not report the tunnel experience, for instance. Many people just report a vibration. This is one thing I would like to get across to your audience. A lot of the night experiences that people have, heavy vibration, sounds, the light in the room, being touched, hearing voices, paralysis. This is all part of an o.b.e. This is all part, and that actually quite natural part of an out-of-body experience. This is the prelude, and it's commonly called the vibrational state. And this is the beginning part of an out-of-body experience. You're beginning to separate from your biological body, and of course, your body has to be paralyzed. The key is most people don't know how to react to this, and they linger in the state, which of course causes fear. What I try to do as much as possible in my work is to train people how to react to the vibrational state and use it. Remain calm, focus away from your body. The more educated and knowledgeable people are about this, the more they can actually take their o.b.es and turn them into just absolutely incredible, wonderful experiences that are self-illuminating.
How would an OBE help someone in their day-to-day life?
Well, it provides answers instead of dependency. Most people in the world are dependent on belief systems, no matter what part of the world you're in. Imagine if we no longer had that crutch. Imagine if we were free to explore. It opens up a whole new realm, an exciting new realm of self-discovery. To me, I've traveled the world for 4 years.
Right.
I've been fortunate. But to me, nothing is more exciting than an out-of-body experience. It's a journey like none other. You are entering, you feel like Christopher Columbus all over. You do. I mean, you're entering a new world. You're exploring a world that most people have never really observed in this lifetime in full consciousness. And it is an exciting, powerful experience. You verify your own immortality. You open up whole new doors to self-discovery. You realize that there's multiple dimensions, and we have the power to explore them. I tell you, it's just the beginning of a whole new realm of experiences opening to you. And I try to write about this and the benefits of it in my books, of course. But this is not about, I like to get across one thing, this is not about belief. O.b.e is probably one of the few subjects you cover where people can verify it for themselves. And that's what makes it so darn powerful.
If someone is, when you're having an OBE, can you go into the future? Can you go into the past?
Absolutely. People report it all the time. Generally, the past is reported more. I receive thousands of correspondences from people, and I write about this also. In my books, I write about my past life as a German tank commander during World War II, and I was killed on the Russian front. I was not even a believer in reincarnation. But I repeatedly, during OBEs, I was drawn to this event. I was drawn to this scenario where I was in a war. And it took me, to be honest, I didn't want to accept it because it was a little bit shocking. It wasn't how I would view myself. And then I realized, after multiple experiences, that I was being drawn to a past energy signature that I was still holding. And that this influences me today because we are a compilation of all of our lives. And this proved to me that, yes, I did have past lives, and I do have past lives, and I'm many of them. And we can begin to explore them ourselves. Many people have spontaneous past life experiences during OBEs. And this is actually quite common. That's one of the things I'm working on now in one of the books I'm writing. This opens up a whole new door to self-discovery when you realize that we're much more, let's just say, expansive than we view ourselves currently.
Can people meet other people who are having out-of-body experiences? Can you plan a meeting in an out-of-body experience?
Well, it has been done. It's not an easy thing to do because your priorities will change when you leave your body. I found this. I'm just giving you this is the practical answer that when you leave your body, suddenly, for instance, you would think everybody would be trying to win the lottery, but you tap into a different part of you, and you look and suddenly the old things that were important are no longer important. It's almost like your higher self or a higher aspect of yourself is directing the experience. And you're drawn to people. You're drawn to events. You're drawn, like we were just talking about, this past life influences. For instance, I have met my mother who had passed away, and she actually gave me a tour of her home, which is now on the astral dimension. And it sounds almost mind-blowing, but this kind of thing that people report on a regular basis. I didn't even ask for the experience. It's like a higher part of me took over the entire o.b.e. and directed the scenario. But it was very real, very profound. My mother, who when she died was 70 years old, when I saw her out of body, she was about 20 years old, vibrantly young. And that's the way people look. That's been my experience time and time again. Because when people pass, when they die, they will revert to the energy signature that they hold for themselves. And most people will hold, and for instance, I'm almost 60, but I still think of myself as about a 25, 28-year-old. And I think we all do. And that is the energy signature that we will hold when we're out of body, our self-concept, our inner conception.
Now, how do o.b.es prove the existence of immortality, heaven, and even God, William?
Well, when you have an out-of-body experience, the first thing that strikes you, and it's shocking for many people, is that I'm continuing without my body. Mm-hmm. I'm still thinking logically. It's me. This is all the things that was running through my mind. I was still me, even though my body was far, far beyond me. And it's a great verification of our immortality. But once you begin to control the experiences, and I have a chapter in Adventures Beyond the Body that has what I call the keys to control. There's methods you can begin to take your out-of-body experience and use it as a tool of inner exploration. It's incredibly powerful. You basically leave your body, you move away from it 10 feet or more, and then you demand to experience a higher level of reality. Or you can demand to experience your higher self. And you will immediately feel that you're shooting up through layers of color or energy. And you will find yourself, in a sense, moving within yourself to a higher level of reality or to an inner level of reality. And this is all verifiable to each individual. I'm not talking about some foo-foo thing that takes 20 years sitting in a cave. This is something that every person can do, and they can do it by making commands during their out-of-body experience. You begin to direct the experience. If you want to explore your past lives, just demand, I wish to see my past lives, or I wish to experience my past lives. Make the demand, and whatever's available to you, your higher self will take you or bring that experience to you. And in other words, this is a powerful exploration tool. It gives us the ability to obtain the answers, to go inward, to explore our higher self. And that's where the answers truly are. They're not in the external world. The external world is nothing but confusion and a facade. And, what gets to be really strange is that you realize that form is not real. Form is just a vehicle of reality.
Are o.b.es mentioned in the Bible, William?
Oh, definitely. They're mentioned, as a matter of fact, in almost all of the holy texts ever written. The Quran, for instance, is totally based upon the out-of-body experience of Muhammad, or what's perceived as the night journey, where he leaves his body and then he describes in detail going through different dimensions of reality and encountering what he perceived as angels and mystical beings through these levels of reality. Revelations begins with, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day when I heard behind me a great voice, which many people, including myself, feel it could mean the vibrational state. Remember that these books were written 2,000 years ago, many of them even older than that, and they were written in that cultural context. And when you have an out-of-body experience and you begin to read the Bible, it's amazing. It takes on a whole different meaning. You begin to see that these guys were explorers, many of them, that they had played catch and ball or games with my wife's father, who had passed away. And it was quite a touching. They were very detailed stories about how, they just called him Pop. They were playing ball with Pop, or they were playing hide and seek with Pop. And stories like this, my sons told me for, probably 4 to 5 years. And the same applies to my mother when my mother passed. The same kind of stories come up. And I was not even encouraging this. This is like, they would come up to me and start talking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was open to it. I didn't, boo-hoo it. I didn't say, oh, come on, that's just a dream. I let them talk about it. I said, what else happened? I think parents now are waking up to this more and more. I get a lot of letters, responses from parents that are saying their child barriers, all nations, all ages. It's a universal experience, truly. One of the things that I was surprised to discover is that children are very open and to out-of-body experiences. Unfortunately, parents have a tendency often to kind of slough the experience off, and the old line, it was just a dream. Everything is just a dream that happens during sleep.
Now, what are the different types of o.b.e.s that a child would have compared to, let's say, someone of your age, my age?
Well, that's what one of the things I found so fascinating. I'll give you a personal example. I have twin boys.
Okay.
And my sons were, when they were young, now they're in their 20s, and but when they were young, they would tell me on numerous occasions that, and of course that kind of puts a damper on people's opening to other types of experiences at a young age. But one of the things I did discover is that between the ages of 4 and 12, before puberty, children have many out-of-body experiences. I have received over 500 from all different parts of the world, very clearly that were o.b.es.